Kosher wine labeling. There are several main types of kosher wines. Kosher, all wines produced in accordance with kashrut. Kosher le Pesach, kosher for Passover, wine that has not come into contact with bread, grain, or yeast products. Most kosher wines are considered kosher. Kosher le Mehadrin, the strictest form of kashrut observance, Kiddush or Sacramental wines, simple sweet wines that are nonetheless kosher and used for religious ceremonies. All kosher wines are also divided into two types, mevushal and non-mevushal. All kosher wines are also divided into two types, mevushal and non-mevushal. The production technology for mevushal wines includes pasteurization, previously boiling, which allowed them to be handled by people who do not observe Shabbat. For example, if a wine is mevushal, even a non-kosher waiter can serve it to a believer. However, pasteurization obviously impairs the organoleptic properties, which is why many modern kosher wines are not mevushal. According to traditional Jewish medicine, to avoid additives and other questionable ingredients, natural and organic wines can be produced according to the old tradition, using all natural ingredients, including herbs. Traditional winemaking, or honey wines, are made from the flowers, leaves, stems, roots, and other parts of various herbs and spices. According to Jewish traditional medicine, traditional wines have been used for centuries for a variety of purposes, including 1. As a way to preserve herbs and spices. 2. As a medicinal and tonic to support various aspects of health. 3. For pleasure and celebrations. Jewish traditional medicine contains the first reports of herbal additives in fermented beverages. Wines were used in traditional herbal medicine in Jewish traditional medicine. In countries where Jews lived, herbal wines became part of the cultural heritage. For example, the traditional Spanish fermented herbal drink made from wheat and barley, abitus, is made with local rosemary, mint, and thyme. The Egyptians still use botanicals in their local wines. In Europe, Jews used wild plants such as dandelion, chamomile, and rose hips to make a variety of herbal wines, meads, and fermented elixirs. Over time, traditional winemaking came to be used as a practical way to use and preserve the beneficial properties of herbs and spices in delicious beverages. Technically, the flowers, roots, leaves, fruits, and stems of virtually any herb from God's pharmacy can be used to make traditional wine. However, not all herbs ferment well in alcohol, and not all of them taste good. Jewish traditional medicine is interested only in their potential health benefits. According to Jewish traditional medicine, traditional winemaking is an art and science that requires knowledge, equipment, time, and skill. There are countless ways to use herbs in traditional wines, meads, vodkas, moonshine, and even beer. Some recipes combine several herbs, while others, such as dandelion wine, emphasize one, the dandelion. For infusions, ready-made natural wines, vodka, and moonshine are used. Jewish traditional medicine has many rules for traditional winemaking. These are the rules of the Torah and the rules of medical technology. The rules: the Torah requires aging. Grapes must be harvested from vines that are at least 3 years old. Every 7th year, the vineyard must rest. 6 years you shall sow the field, prune the vineyard, and gather the fruit. But in the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath of rest, a Sabbath of the Eternal. You shall not sow the field or prune the vineyard. You shall not gather anything that has grown naturally, and you shall not gather grapes from unpruned vines, the Torah states. Animal products such as casein, gelatin, or albumin, which are often used to clarify wine, are prohibited in winemaking. Every stage of production, from pressing the must to bottling, may only be performed by Jews who observe the Sabbath. From the moment they arrive at the winery, only Shabbat-observant Jews may touch the grapes and their products. Because wine plays a special role in the laws of kashrut, it is said that wine cannot be considered kosher if it could be used for idolatry. These laws include yain nesek, wine poured to an idol, and stam yainam, wine that has been touched by someone who practices idolatry, or that was produced by non-Jews. Kosher wine is called yain mevushal, prepared or boiled. This wine is no longer suitable for idolatry and will remain kosher even if subsequently touched by an idolater. While none of the ingredients in wine, alcohol, sugar, acidity, and phenols, are considered non-kosher, the kashrut laws governing wine focus more on who produces the wine and what it's made from. For wine to be considered kosher, only Shabbat-observant Jews may participate in winemaking, from cultivating the vines to pasteurizing the wine and sealing the bottles. Another difference from regular kosher wine is that Jews observe Shabbat. This significantly simplifies the use of wine for commercial purposes, such as in restaurants or at events. However, most premium wines are produced without heating, even briefly, as modern winemakers prefer to interfere with natural processes as little as possible. Furthermore, pasteurization reduces shelf life and is used primarily for wines intended for quick consumption. Mevushal. Sometimes the words mevushal or non-mevushal appear on bottles of kosher wine next to the kashrut symbol. Literally translated, mevushal means cooked or boiled. In the past, these wines had a poor reputation for low quality. However, over the past few decades, the production process has evolved, and now the wine is sometimes indistinguishable from the uncooked variety. In fact, in most cases, mevushal, flash pasteurized, wine involves rapidly bringing the grape must to 85 to 90 degrees Celsius, 185 to 194 degrees Fahrenheit, and then flash cooling it under vacuum. This process isn't limited to kosher wine. It is often used on unripe red grapes to avoid grassy notes and bitter tannins, as well as on grapes exposed to smoke from forest fires. Mevushal wine is often used in kosher restaurants and by kosher caterers to ensure it can be served to non-Jews or non-kosher observant waiters. The process of fully boiling wine destroys most of the small mold on the grapes and significantly alters the tannins and aroma of the wine. Therefore, special attention is paid to adhering to the legal requirements for minimal heating of wine. There is considerable disagreement among halakhic authorities regarding the exact temperature that wine must reach to be considered mevushal. It varies from 74 degrees Celsius 165 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Celsius 194 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the wine does not boil, but rather boils down much more quickly than usual. Cooking at the minimum necessary temperature reduces the damage caused to the wine, but still has a significant impact on its quality and aging. A process called flash pasteurization quickly heats the wine to the required temperature and immediately cools it to room temperature. This process is considered to have minimal impact on the taste. Regardless of the method, the pasteurization process must be supervised by a mashgiach, kosher inspector, to ensure the wine is kosher. Typically, he will visit the winery to personally dip the grapes in the crusher and pasteurization equipment are operated. After the wine exits the process, it can be processed and aged in the usual way. There are also technological rules. For example, mead, traditional wine made with honey, must ferment longer than sugar-based wine. Robust red wines are complemented by powerful and aromatic herbs such as rosemary, rose hips, yarrow, and juniper. Rose wines pair beautifully with sage, basil, and citrus zest. White wines suit more subtle flavors such as chamomile, lavender, elderflower, rose petals, and lemon balm. Spicy ginger also pairs well with white wine. Sweet wines can be paired with a variety of herbs, such as dandelion, ginger, sage, rosemary, lemon balm, lemongrass, chamomile, rose, and vanilla.